Hello and welcome to the second part of the synthesis tutorial. My name is Ashil Riot. In the last episode, we created a simple synthesizer with an oscillator where we've got 3 different waveforms to choose from and an envelope section to affect the attack, decay, sustain, release and the shape of the waveform. In this episode, we're gonna further enhance our synthesizer. We're going to create 2 more oscillators. Within each oscillator, have a filter section and create level controls for each oscillator so we can mix between each oscillator and a master output. So we're going to go inside the instrument, go double click on oscillator 1. We're going to delete our link to the output because we need to add more modules in. So from our selection of waveform, we want to go into a filter section. So we go right click, built-in module, filter, multi-2 pole. Now here's our filter section. What I'm going to do is rename it filter. Go to the view tab here and turn visible on so we could see the shape of the filter and how we're affecting our sound. What we need to do is right click on the P, create control. This is our cutoff section, so we can choose what frequency we want to cut off our sound at. We'll right click on the res and create control. This will add some resonance to the particular frequency we cut off at just before it, and then we connect the output of our waveform switch to the end of the filter. The next thing we need to do is create a switch so we can switch between high pass, band pass and low pass. So we right click, built-in module, panel, switch. Let's drag it out a little. We'll drag a line between the high pass to the in, rename the in by double clicking to HP so we know what the options on the switch are. We're going to command drag from the band pass, rename it to BP, and also we're going to command drag from the low pass and rename it LP. Okay, we're going to rename the switch to filter. Okay, so now we have a switchable filter section. The next thing we're going to do is create a fader for this oscillator. So we're going to right click, built-in module, panel, fader. We'll rename the fader to OS1, and what we have to do now is right click, built-in module, create math and multiply. The reason we use a multiply is if we click on the OS1 fader and go to function, we can see our range. So our max is 1 and our min is 0. So if the fader's all the way up, it will be at a value of 1, all the way down it will be a value at 0, and the default's 0.5. So by using a multiply module, what we're doing is taking the output of the filter and our waveform. So we drag a line between the output to one of the inputs of the multiply and timesing it by the output of the fader. So as our max is 1, if we have the fader all the way up, we'll have the full volume, we'll have the volume times 1 of the waveform. As we pull it down to say halfway, it'll be 0.5, so it'll be half the volume. And then we just take the output of the multiply module and drag a line to the output. Now if we go back to our instrument view where we can see our envelope macro and our OS1 macro, what we need to do to create a master fader, we need to delete our 2 links to our outputs from the output of the first oscillator, and we're going to do the same thing. So we right click, built-in module, panel, fader, name it master, then we drag it in position, and then built-in module, math, multiply module again, and then connect the out of the oscillator to the multiply module and the out of the master fader to the multiply module. And then we could take the output of the multiply module to our outputs of our synthesizer. Now if we go back to our panel view, we can see everything's on top of each other. So we click the wrench icon. Here's our master fader. So I'm going to put this at the end here so it's last in our synthesizer chain. We're going to pull our volume fader for oscillator 1 out. We're going to pull down our filter section. We've got a control for our resonance and cutoff, and also our visible view of our filter section. So we'll organize it so the waveform comes first, and we have a filter here. And we'll stick our controls for resonance and cutoff just underneath the graph. And here's our fader for the oscillator. So if we turn the wrench off now, choose a waveform, then we choose a filter. There we go, we have a visualization of the filter section. So if we Command K, and there we have a sine wave going through a high pass filter. Now let's manipulate the cutoff and add some resonance. There we go. And now if we pull our fader up or down, there's a difference in the level of the sound. Also, if we do the same thing with our master fader, we can manipulate the overall sound. Okay, so now we've got our first oscillator, our envelope section, and a master fader. Next thing we're going to do is create our second and third oscillators. So we go back into the instrument view, and the simplest way to do this is to click on our first oscillator, right click, duplicate, because it's going to be the same thing. We'll just rename it to OS2. OS2. And then we go in, we just change the name of the fader to OS2 as well. Then we go back out by double clicking the grey, and we right click on the macro, duplicate it again, rename it to OS3, go back in and change the name of the fader to OS3, go back out. Now to get an output of all of the oscillators together, we need to first delete the line between the output of one and the multiply module. We're just going to drag these out so we've got some more space. We need to add create built-in module, math, and add. So what this module will do is add the outputs of each of our oscillators together to create one output. Then we drag the output of the add module to the multiply module. Now we'll go to our panel view, and we've got all our oscillators on top of each other. So click the wrench icon again, and we'll drag everything out. We'll put our master here, put our envelope next to the master. We'll start with oscillator 1 at the top, oscillator 2 just underneath, and then we've got oscillator 3 right next to it. So if we click the wrench again to turn off editing mode, now if we turn on our Command K musical typing, okay, they're all sine waves at the minute, but if we pull the volumes down of each of the oscillators, so we got a square on our first oscillator, then we use a saw for our second oscillator and bring up the volume, and then we'll leave it on sine for the third one. Now we can create a mix between all three. If we didn't want to use a particular oscillator, we can just turn the volume fader all the way down and we won't hear it. So there we have 3 oscillator synthesizer.